So it's motorcycle riding time. Maybe not today because it's raining, but the season is here, and with gas prices the way they are, I know a lot of you guys that haven't ridden lately. Maybe you don't have a bike right now, or maybe you're wanting to learn, but you don't know where to start. What is a good budget bike, and what things should you look for with used ones, especially ones that sat a little? So maybe this video is definitely going to be for you. Even if you're an expert and you just haven't ridden lately, kind of a reminder of what models are out there that aren't going to break your bank. Now, I know a lot of budget motorcycle videos are on YouTube, and they talk about $5,000, $6,000 bikes. Those aren't budget bikes, people. Those are, I mean, at least for me, in my book, that's a new dealer bike. Now, granted, I haven't bought a new bike lately. Maybe I haven't even bought a used one lately, but I got the CB400 for $800. Did the jets and car kit, rebuild, whatever, and the bike needed a battery, and I've been riding it ever since. That's literally it. 40-year-old bike. So I've tripled my value with a car rebuild kit because, this bike's got 11,000 miles on it, retitled and everything. So they're out there. Also, there are a lot of models to consider that people never seem to cover on these YouTube videos covering old, expensive motorcycles. They're like 5 or 6 years old and still like $8,000, and or $5,000 or whatever, and I don't understand it. I don't. So I'm going to tell you guys some really awesome budget bikes made from, the wonderful island of Japan that I've actually owned that are highly dependable, loads of fun, plenty of power. You can do 2 for 1, double up on it, ride, and they got plenty of power. None of which will do less than 100, easy. So let's get into it. I've got a fuel leak where I removed the petcock on the gas tank where it was already bad, and I put a brass fitting in with an aftermarket cutoff. So we're going to drain the gas out of the tank, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the options out there. So, other than your pop-up classics like this, which, by the way, I absolutely love because of the parallel twin engine. See that? And the reason being is a lot of these parallel twins are out there with the older ones. They're balanced. They're counterbalanced perfectly. They either counterbalance like a Boxer Subaru, or they're in sync with each other, and there's a counterbalance swinging. And what it does, a V-twin, there's no way to really balance it well, and even with that odd firing, even if you have a spinning counterbalancer, it's only going to work at a certain RPM. So if that RPM is what you drive at, like I had a Yamaha V-Star 650, and it vibrated going about 65 to 70. Uh, that's kind of a problem because uh, that's highway speed. So you either have to speed or go slower than the speed limit. And it drove me nuts, okay? There's no way to change the idle speed either because it's a shaft drive. So you can't upgrade the rear sprocket or front sprocket because there aren't any, right? To change the gear ratio, to change your cruising speed on your RPMs and all. So I, you know, I like the parallel twins. They don't vibrate at all ever. Okay, but if okay, so some bikes to look at. I don't remember the Yamahas, but from the 70s and 80s up, there were a lot of them. All of the older Hondas were parallel twin or four cylinders. Um, the Ninja 500. So, since the Ninja 250 and Ninja 500 are parallel twins like this, they would be good starter bikes. The 500 is awesome. I don't know of one that wouldn't do over 100 miles an hour. The 250 honestly would do it, but a lot of people don't realize it. The Kawasaki Vulcan 500 is the same exact drivetrain, same 6-speed transmission, same parallel twin 500, slightly different cam profiles for better low and mid range torque, which is awesome. And it's on a regular motorcycle frame instead of a sport bike. So, Ninja 500 or a Vulcan 500, both awesome. They're usually about $1,500 in really good condition on Facebook around here. So, that's a budget bike, and it's made well. It's water cooled, um, so it's got higher compression than air cooled. Usually wood. It's got more power. You do need to deal with coolant, thermostat, water pump, right? But the water pump's easy to change. The thermostats are easy to change. If it the the flip side is if a thermostat gets stuck closed, you can run hot. Where air cooled, there's air. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a concern to look at. I would get one and just throw a new thermostat in it right off the bat, just to be safe. They're cheap, you know. Um, a lot of the budget bikes are gonna say just needs the carb going through. That's probably true. This one was like that, and usually it is one of two things: the float needle is stuck and not letting it get fuel, or it's not sealing and it's peeing gas out everywhere under the bike and into the crankcase and everywhere else. Either way, it's the float needle, so it's not a big deal. Getting to them is the big deal. Um, the parallel twins, they're again, the carbs are easier to get to. They're right there. They're on the back side of the cylinder. So you can take the tank off and some covers or whatever, maybe pull their box out, and they just pull right off. So it's easy. Piece of cake, dude. Those V twins, they're crammed down in there, and they are a nightmare to deal with. Believe me, I've done both, plenty of both. So that's why I like the parallel twins. There again, that Vulcan, we kept getting water in the tank, and I pulled those carbs out like 3 times before I figured out to stop using paper fuel filters because the water would completely clog the filter and it wouldn't run like at all. Where at least if you're running a screen filter like I've got up in there, fuel and water will get through it. If it gets water in it, either it'll evaporate out, burn out, or you can drain it with the drain screw on the carburetor. Not a big deal. Um, so my eyes light up sometimes when I see bike sat for a year, ran good, just needs a carb filling through. My eyes light up because I'm like, cool. Because now you've got ethanol gas, which requires a richer mix. So my thing is, if I wanted to run exhaust, or if I wanted to run E10 and be able to run stock exhausts, but the fuel mix still not be lean, I'm gonna go want to put jets in it, like stage one jets, anyways. So I'm thinking, if the carb is all that's wrong with it, then cool. We'll rebuild it anyway. No big deal. It's like $45 from Six Sigma on eBay to get a rebuild kit with 3 different stage jets, with them labeled, all in the pack. So you can upgrade it later if you go do an upgrade or whatever down the road. So you got options. Um, but if it won't run, all you got to do, get you a compression tester at AutoZone. I prefer O'Reilly's, but whatever. That's just because I'm partial. But O'Reilly, I mean, get the compression tester and a hot battery jump box, whatever, and get that thing to spin over. Pull the plug wire off, and stick a screwdriver with a good handle on it, and get the bar of the screwdriver near the head when you're spinning it over, or you can get an extra spark plug and stick in the plug wire. You just pull the plug wire off like this, stick a plug in it, and stick the head of the plug on the head of the motor and spin it over. The end of that spark plug should be making sparks. If it is, cool, the ignition system's good. All the ignition system, everything in it, the pickup module, or whatever you want to call it, the coils, the wires, everything's good. Alright, so if that's good, then you can pull the plug on out, use your compression tester on each cylinder, and make sure they're consistent and above 80 at least. Um, Below 80, it's going to be hard to start. Low compression, may have problems with the rings. If one is bad, maybe a valve, it could be the rings are washed out. You want to kind of stay away from it, but because you'll never be able to tune it right. But because it just needs a rebuild probably. But hey, if you got good compression and it's sparking, all you're gonna have to deal with is these bad boys, and no problem. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of an older bike. The only, a lot of the catch there is all of the 175 or newer. Now I forget the exact year, but pretty much everybody had gone to CDI, electronic ignition or whatever, so you don't have to fool with points. So that's going to be, you want to stay in that range and newer, more than likely. Plus, a lot of them offer disc brakes on at least the front. You're going to want disc brakes. Trying to think what else. That's really about it. So you should be able to find something that has enough. You don't want to get underpowered. A lot of people talk about like a Rebel 250 being a good starter bike, and it is, but it's kind of not. It doesn't have enough weight to keep you in the road when a wind gust blows by, especially if you're on a 2-lane and a truck goes by. It's gonna blow you all over the road, dude. This 400, it stays in the road. You can still feel it pretty good, but 400 or 500 is not too much power. Now you get a Ninja 250, it's got enough power and it's aerodynamic. It'll cut through the wind, it won't bother you. I had one and I did $110 on it. So help me God, I did. It'll do it. I had the baffles taken out. It was a 97, and they've got different cams than the newer ones, and different power band profile. So it actually has really good top end, but um, not a cruiser. You don't want a cruiser 250. They kind of suck. Um, you're not going to be happy with it long. Uh, this thing right here did 100. And the reason I say that, I know that y'all are not going. Well, I'm not. Y'all are saying I'm not going to do 100 miles an hour. The point in that is, if it'll do 100, it'll handle 65 that much better. You see what I'm saying? If you're thinking, oh well, it'll do 70 and that's all I need, and it tops out at 70, you're going to have it pegged at its very wit's end all the time. And it's going to be vibrating like it's screaming for mercy, okay? You don't want that. Plus, if it's only built for 70 miles an hour, it's going to handle like it's only built for 70 miles an hour. There again, you don't want that. If this thing handles 100 miles an hour just fine, imagine how much better it does at 65. Okay, there you go. So yeah, those are some things that they don't cover a lot, talking about beginner bikes or budget bikes. They're out there. Carbs aren't that big a deal, but just make sure that that is what the problem is. Look in the tank. The tank can usually tell you what the carbs look like. If the inside of the carbs are full of resin and that ethanol resin hardened, you'll never. You better hope to God you can get the jets out and all that, and those diaphragms are still good. But other than that, yeah, if it's only sat a year, it's probably okay. Uh, Especially if the pet cot was off. If it was on, I don't know, man. It could be full of rust in the cars, and it could have problems, But you can always find cars, I guess, online, depending. And I guess that about covers it. Um, I guess that about covers it. Oh, batteries. Do not go cheap. Don't go cheap and get those clear batteries that you gotta pour the acid in and all that. It sucks. They suck. Y'all stop buying those. The bike sits sideways on the kickstand, right? Those batteries leak acid. By nature, they just do. Get an AGM battery, absorbed glass mat battery. I don't care what brand. I don't care if it's from Walmart. They're sealed. They don't leak. Doesn't matter if you lay the bike down. Plus, they'll outlast those cheap ass batteries 10 to 1. I promise. Okay? Stop buying those cheap batteries. The extra $40 is worth it, trust me. And I guess that's about it. I'm going to get back on this, run to town, get me something that's gas resistant for these threads, and clean my block back up, my crankcase, because this is from that gas dripping. That's all that is. And I'm going to polish this up, back up with the Dremel and the pump and all that mess. So we'll see how it looks when we get going. And yeah, hopefully that helps.